The Galactic Council wasn't ready for humanity's brutal response. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council ruled the stars. It was the highest power in the galaxy. Hundreds of alien species answered to it. Some joined willingly. Others joined after losing wars they could never win. The council chamber floated in deep space, built inside a dying star. Its walls were made of crystal and metal older than most civilizations. Inside, the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered to decide the fate of entire worlds. They believed they had seen everything. They were wrong. Earth had joined the council only 12 years ago. Humans were new to space travel compared to the ancient races. Their ships were smaller. Their colonies were few. Their politics were messy. They argued often, even among themselves. The elder races watched them with quiet amusement. They are emotional, one ambassador once said. They are divided, another added. They will learn obedience. Humans did not react to these insults. They traded peacefully. They signed agreements. They followed council laws. They smiled during meetings. They seemed harmless. But in a far corner of the galaxy, something terrible happened. A human colony on the outer rim went silent. The planet was called Haven 12. It was small but important. It mined rare minerals and supplied materials for Earth's growing industries. Nearly 2 million humans lived there. One morning, all communication stopped. No distress signal. No warning. No survivors sending messages. Just silence. At first, the council assumed it was a technical failure. Then days passed. Human ships were sent to investigate. They found ruins. Cities burned to ash. Defense satellites shattered. Orbital stations broken apart like toys. And no bodies. The entire population was gone. The news reached Earth within hours. The human government did not scream. They did not declare war. They requested an emergency council session. In the chamber of the dying star, the human ambassador stood quietly before hundreds of alien leaders. His name was Ambassador Elias Ward. He did not raise his voice. Haven 12 has been destroyed, he said calmly. We request a full investigation and access to council surveillance records. Murmurs filled the chamber. The council speaker, a tall silver-skinned being from one of the oldest races, responded smoothly. Preliminary reports suggest pirate activity. Pirates. The word felt wrong. Haven 12 had heavy defenses. Pirate fleets would not stand a chance against it. Ambassador Ward nodded slowly. Then we request permission to pursue those responsible. The speaker hesitated. We will handle it, the speaker replied. The council will maintain order. The humans did not argue. They returned home. Weeks passed. The council announced that pirate groups were suspected but not confirmed. No arrests were made. No fleets were deployed. The investigation moved slowly. Too slowly. Behind closed doors, some council members whispered uncomfortable questions. Haven 12's destruction was precise. Its defenses were disabled in seconds. That was not pirate behavior. That was military strategy. But accusing a powerful member race without proof would create political chaos. So the council delayed. On Earth, something changed. Factories began operating at full capacity. Shipyards that had once built cargo vessels started producing warships. Military commanders were recalled from leave. Reserve fleets were activated. But no public announcement was made. Human media remained calm. From the outside, it looked like nothing was happening. 3 weeks after the colony's destruction, the human ambassador returned to the council. He looked tired. Has the investigation concluded? He asked. The speaker avoided direct eye contact. Not yet. Ambassador Ward stood silent for a long moment. We have detected unusual fleet movements near Haven 12 before its destruction, he said carefully. We request access to internal military tracking logs. The chamber became very quiet. One powerful delegate shifted in their seat. That information is restricted, the speaker replied. The meaning was clear. Denied. For the first time, the human ambassador's expression changed. Not anger, not fear. Disappointment. I see, he said softly. He turned and walked out without another word. Many council members felt uneasy after that meeting. Humans were emotional creatures. They were expected to shout or demand justice. Instead, they had become very quiet. And quiet humans were unfamiliar. Across known space, long-range scanners began detecting something unusual. Human fleets were moving, not toward council space, not toward random systems. They were spreading out in organized formations along trade routes and border regions. When asked, human officials said they were conducting training exercises. But the scale of those exercises was massive. Small races began watching carefully. Human ships were not primitive. They were sleek, efficient, and heavily shielded. Some were designs the council had never seen before. Then came the most troubling report. A council surveillance station near Haven 12 had recorded a fleet entering the system just hours before the colony was destroyed. The fleet belonged to a powerful council member species, the Varithi Dominion. The Varithi were old, proud, and known for expanding their territory aggressively. But they were also protected by strong political alliances inside the council. The report was marked classified. Very few saw it. One of those who did felt a cold sensation spread through their body. Because if humans discovered the truth on their own, there would be consequences. Back on Earth, deep inside a secure command center, human leaders watched the same footage. They had already discovered it. They did not shout. They did not panic. One general spoke quietly. Confirmation level? 98%, the analyst replied. Silence filled the room. Then the president of Earth gave a simple order. Phase 2. Across dozens of hidden shipyards, lights turned from blue to red. Weapon systems were unlocked. Encryption codes changed. And for the first time since joining the Galactic Council, humanity stopped asking for permission. In the council chamber, many still believed humans were weak. They believed humans would wait. They believed humans needed protection. They did not understand one simple truth. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council not because they were weak. They had joined to learn, to observe, to prepare. And now, the galaxy was about to learn who they really were. The truth did not stay hidden for long. Human intelligence ships had been near Haven 12 before the attack. They were small and invisible to most scanners. They had recorded everything. The fleet that entered the system did not belong to pirates. It belonged to the Varithi Dominion. Their ships arrived in perfect formation. They disabled Haven 12 satellites in seconds. They jammed communications. They targeted power stations first. Then they deployed ground forces. It was not chaos. It was planned. Inside Earth's command center, leaders watched the footage in silence. Buildings exploded. Defense cannons were cut apart by precise energy strikes. Human soldiers fought bravely, but they were outmatched. Then came the worst part. Transport ships landed. They did not just destroy the colony. They took people. 2 million humans. Taken. No warning. No message. No explanation. When the video ended, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, the defense minister broke the silence. They wanted the planet's mineral fields, she said. And they wanted to test us. The president's face was calm but cold. Prepare the evidence, he ordered. We go back to the council. 2 days later, the council chamber filled once again. Whispers spread as the human ambassador entered. This time, he did not look tired. He looked certain. Ambassador Elias Ward stood in the center of the chamber. We have completed our investigation, he said. The giant display screens around the chamber lit up. Footage played. Clear. Undeniable. Varithi warships entering Haven 12's orbit. Varithi command signals. Varithi troop transports landing. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted. Some demanded silence. Others stared at the Varithi representative. The Varithi ambassador rose slowly. This is fabricated, he said smoothly. Humans are skilled with technology. They could fake such images. Ambassador Ward did not react. We anticipated that response, he said. He pressed another command. Encrypted military signatures appeared on screen. energy weapon patterns unique to Varithi design, flight path data pulled from independent navigation buoys. Even time stamps matched council records. The evidence was overwhelming. Silence slowly returned to the chamber. All eyes turned toward the council speaker. The speaker shifted uncomfortably. "This is serious," the speaker admitted. "However, accusations between member species must be handled carefully." Carefully? Ambassador Ward repeated quietly. "The Varithi Dominion is an important pillar of the council," the speaker continued. "We cannot act without a full internal review." "How long will that take?" Ward asked. The speaker did not answer directly. "Months, perhaps longer." Murmurs spread again. "Months. Haven 12 was destroyed weeks ago. 2 million humans were missing. And the council wanted to wait." The Varithi ambassador folded his hands calmly. "You see," he said softly, "peace requires patience." Ambassador Ward looked around the chamber. Many species avoided his gaze. They were afraid. Not of humans. Of political instability. Finally, Ward spoke again. "If justice does not exist here," he said slowly, "humanity will create it." Gasps filled the room. That sounded like a threat. The speaker's voice hardened. "Are you declaring war?" Ward shook his head.
"No.
"We are declaring responsibility." He turned and walked out. The council believed humans were bluffing. They believed humans would protest, maybe apply trade pressure, then accept the council's decision. They believed this because that was how politics worked in the galaxy. They were wrong. Within hours of the meeting, something unusual happened. Human trade ships stopped traveling through Varithi space. Human mining contracts were canceled. Human diplomats withdrew from joint projects. The separation was clean. Organized.
Planned.
Then came the larger shift. Long-range scanners across the galaxy detected human fleets grouping together. Not randomly.
Strategically.
Key jump gates near Varithi borders saw increased human patrols. Defense platforms appeared where there had been none before. Small species living near Varithi territory began receiving quiet messages from Earth. "If conflict reaches your system, we will assist evacuation." The message was simple. Humans expected war. The Varithi Dominion responded with arrogance. They increased military presence near their borders. They sent a warning to Earth. Any aggressive movement will be considered an act of war. Earth did not reply. Instead, deep inside hidden shipyards, something massive was activated. For years, humans had publicly focused on trade and research, but secretly, they had studied every major fleet in the Council. They had mapped weapon ranges, shield frequencies, reaction times. They had learned weaknesses. Human engineers had designed ships not for parade displays, but for efficiency.
Compact. Fast.
Powerful. And, most importantly, networked. Each ship could think independently, but act as part of a larger mind. The Varithi believed they were facing a young species with limited experience. They did not know humanity, had spent decades studying their history of war. On the Varithi homeworld, the High Commander laughed when he heard reports of human fleet movements. "Let them gather," he said. "They cannot match our numbers." But one Varithi strategist was not so confident. He had watched the human ambassador's eyes during the council meeting. There was no anger there. No panic. Only decision. That frightened him. Back on Earth, the final meeting before action took place. Military leaders stood around a holographic map of Varithi territory. Targets were highlighted in red. Shipyards. Fuel depots. Command relays. The president spoke quietly. "We do not target civilians," she said. "We do not destroy cities." A general nodded. "We remove their ability to wage war." "And we bring our people home," she added. Around the room, heads nodded. This was not revenge. It was correction. The order was given. Across the darkness of space, human fleets entered jump space at the same moment. No announcements. No speeches. No final warnings. The council was still debating procedures when the first Varithi border station went dark. Not damaged. Not attacked loudly. Just
gone.
And in the silent vacuum of space, humanity made its first move. The first Varithi border station did not explode. It simply disappeared from the network. One moment it was transmitting patrol reports. The next moment, nothing. Inside the station, alarms had barely started before everything shut down. Power failed. Weapons went offline. Communications were cut. Then small human strike ships appeared from stealth. They moved with perfect timing. They disabled engines, boarded command decks, captured officers alive. The entire operation took 11 minutes. Not one civilian worker was harmed. Not one unnecessary shot was fired. When the Varithi High Command received the report, they assumed it was a malfunction. Then the second station went dark. Then the third. Each one taken cleanly.
Precise. Silent.
Within hours, Varithi outer defenses were blind. Panic spread through their military channels. This is coordinated. Where are their fleets? How are they bypassing our sensors? The answer was simple. Humans had been studying their sensors for years. They knew exactly where the blind spots were. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, emergency lights glowed red. Delegates shouted across the hall. Reports flooded in from multiple systems. Human fleets had entered Varithi space, but they were not attacking cities. They were striking military infrastructure only. Shipyards were disabled by targeted ion bursts. Fuel stations were drained and sealed. Communication relays were hacked and replaced with human encryption. The Varithi ambassador stood and demanded action. "This is open war," he shouted. "The council must defend its member." The speaker looked shaken. "Humanity has not attacked civilians," the speaker replied carefully. "Their strikes are limited." "Limited," the Varithi roared. "They are crippling us." Across the chamber, smaller species watched in silence. For many of them, this moment felt familiar. They had once faced the Varithi alone. They had once asked the council for help. Help had not come. Now the balance was shifting. Then something unexpected happened. Every major communication network in the galaxy was interrupted. Screens across hundreds of worlds flickered. A single message appeared. It was not dramatic. It was not loud. It was a recording from Haven 12. Unedited. Uncut. The Varithi fleet attacking. The ground invasion. The transport ships taking human civilians. The message ended with simple text. "This is why." No threats. No speeches. Just proof. Across the galaxy, populations reacted with shock. Some council species demanded answers from their leaders. Small border races began asking a dangerous question. If the Varithi did this to humanity, who will be next? Back inside the council chamber, the atmosphere had changed. This was no longer about political procedure. This was about trust. And trust was breaking. Meanwhile, the Varithi launched their response. A large fleet moved toward human space. Hundreds of warships, heavy cruisers, battle carriers. They believed in overwhelming force. They would strike Earth directly and end this rebellion. But as their fleet entered the first human-controlled system, something strange happened. There were no visible defenses. No large fleets waiting. The system looked empty. The Varithi commander smiled. "Cowards," he muttered. Then space itself shifted. Hidden mines activated. Not explosive mines. Gravity mines. They bent space for a fraction of a second. Just enough. Varithi ships collided with each other as formation patterns collapsed. Before they could recover, human strike groups emerged from stealth.
Fast.
Organized. Linked by advanced battle networks. Each human ship moved like part of a single mind. They targeted engines first. Then weapons. They avoided life support sections. Within minutes, the massive Varithi fleet was trapped and disabled. Distress calls filled the system. The human fleet commander sent a single message. "Surrender and power down. You'll be treated under interstellar law." The Varithi commander refused. He ordered full attack. His ship was disabled 12 seconds later. The rest surrendered. The entire battle lasted 19 minutes. When the report reached the council, silence filled the chamber. 19 minutes. An ancient war fleet defeated in 19 minutes. One elder delegate whispered. How long have humans been preparing? No one answered. On Earth, news of the captured Varithi fleet spread. Citizens felt anger. But they also felt something else. Relief. For the first time since Haven 12, they felt control returning. Inside a secure facility, captured Varithi officers were questioned. One finally admitted the truth. The attack on Haven 12 had been approved by Varithi High Command. They believed humanity would not respond. They believed the Council would protect them. They were half right. The Council had tried. But humanity had changed the rules. Back in Varithi territory, their core shipyards were now surrounded. Human fleets did not attack immediately. They waited, blocking trade routes, blocking military supply lines. Every hour that passed weakened the Dominion further. The High Commander of the Varithi finally understood the situation. This is not rage, he said quietly. This is strategy.
He looked at the star map.
Human fleets were positioned not randomly but perfectly. They controlled movement, information, timing. The Dominion was not being destroyed. It was being dismantled.
Piece by piece. Carefully.
In the council chamber, fear began to grow. Not fear of destruction. Fear of realization. If humans could do this to the Varithi, what else were they capable of? The speaker requested immediate communication with Earth. This time, it was not a delay. It was not a warning. It was a request. Ambassador Ward appeared on the central display. He looked calm as always. You are destabilizing the galaxy, the speaker said urgently. Ward tilted his head slightly. No, he replied. We are correcting it. The speaker hesitated. What are your intentions? Ward answered in simple words. We will remove the threat. And then, the speaker asked quietly. Ward's eyes did not move. Then we will discuss the future of this council. The connection ended. In the silent chamber of the dying star, ancient beings felt something they had not felt in centuries. Uncertainty. Because for the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council was not in control. The Varithi Dominion had ruled through fear for centuries. They believed power was simple. Strike first. Strike hard. Never apologize. But humanity did something different. They did not rush toward the Varithi homeworld. They did not bomb cities. They did not send angry messages. Instead, they began to close a fist slowly around the Dominion's military heart. Every major Varithi weapons factory went offline within 2 days. Human cyber units infiltrated their systems using access codes captured from border stations. Automated defense grids were shut down from the inside. Shipyards lost power one by one. Docked warships were frozen in place, unable to launch. Fuel depots were drained remotely and locked. Supply chains collapsed like falling stones. The Dominion still had ships. But those ships had no coordination, no safe routes, no reliable command signals. It was like watching a giant lose control of its own body. On the Varithi homeworld, panic began spreading among military leaders. The High Commander slammed his claws against a metal table. How? He demanded. How are they everywhere at once? A young strategist answered quietly. They mapped us. For years. Silence followed. The Varithi had always believed humans were distracted by trade, culture, and internal politics. They never imagined that behind the scenes, humans were collecting data, studying tactics, learning weaknesses. The Dominion had underestimated patience. Meanwhile, in space near Haven 12, human recovery ships arrived. They scanned debris fields carefully. They located hidden tracking devices left by the Varithi transports. Those devices led to a classified labor camp deep inside Varithi territory. 2 million humans were there.
Alive.
Forced to mine rare minerals under heavy guard. When this information reached Earth, the atmosphere changed. Until now, the mission had been controlled.
Strategic.
Measured. Now it became personal. But still, human leaders did not lose discipline. The president gave a direct order. Rescue first. Punishment second. The rescue operation was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Instead of sending a large visible fleet, humans deployed small infiltration groups. Stealth carriers dropped strike teams behind defense lines. Electronic warfare ships created false sensor readings across nearby systems. To outside observers, it looked like humans were preparing an attack on a different target. But that was deception. While Varithi forces moved to defend empty space, human teams entered the labor camp system. They disabled orbital defenses silently, cut external communications. Then they descended to the planet. Ground fighting was fast and brutal. Human soldiers moved in coordinated squads, guided by real-time satellite support. They targeted guard towers, command posts, power grids. Within hours, camp control systems were disabled. Human prisoners were found in underground mining tunnels, exhausted, malnourished, but alive. When the first rescue ship lifted off the planet with civilians on board, a message was sent directly to Varithi High Command. We have our people. Nothing more. The Dominion now faced a nightmare. Their fleets were scattered, their infrastructure crippled, their prisoners gone, and the humans still had not attacked their cities. That restraint was more terrifying than destruction, because it showed control. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, emergency debates continued without pause. Some species demanded immediate sanctions against humanity. Others refused. They are targeting only military assets, one delegate argued. Their actions are focused. Another added quietly, and justified. The Varithi ambassador looked weaker now, less confident. You allow this because you fear them, he accused the chamber. No one answered. Because many of them did fear humanity, not because humans were savage, but because they were disciplined, calculated, and patient. Back near the Varithi core systems, human fleets finally made a visible move. 3 large task forces appeared at key jump points leading to the Dominion capital. They did not advance. They did not fire. They simply held position, blocking all exit routes. Trade stopped completely. Military reinforcements could not pass. The Dominion was isolated. The High Commander studied the star map in silence. If he attacked, he would lose more ships. If he stayed still, his military would slowly collapse. He finally understood the truth. Humanity was not trying to win a battle. They were ending a regime. On Earth, the rescued civilians from Haven, 12 were welcomed home. Images of their return spread across human networks. Families reunited. Children stepped onto home soil again. But celebrations were quiet, because everyone knew the mission was not finished. In a private meeting, military leaders presented the final phase to the president. The Dominion leadership bunker has been located, a general said. We can strike directly. The president considered the options. A decapitation strike would end the war instantly. But it would also cause chaos across Varithi space. Civil unrest, power struggles, possible collapse. She shook her head. No assassination, she said firmly. We give them a choice. Hours later, a direct communication channel opened between Earth and the Varithi capital. For the first time, the High Commander spoke directly with a human leader. Ambassador Ward appeared on screen again.
Calm.
Steady. You have lost your fleets, Ward said plainly. Your infrastructure is neutralized. Your prisoners are free. The High Commander growled softly. You will not destroy us? Ward's eyes remained focused. That depends on your next decision. Silence stretched between them. You attacked our colony without warning, Ward continued. You believed we would remain weak. The High Commander did not deny it. You have 2 options, Ward said. Stand down and submit your leadership for trial under interstellar law. And if we refuse, the commander asked. Ward's answer was simple. Then we remove your ability to threaten anyone ever again. The screen went dark. In the council chamber, word of this conversation spread quickly. For the first time in 10,000 years, the most feared dominion in the galaxy stood at the edge of surrender. Not because their cities burned, but because their power had been carefully dismantled. An elder delegate whispered to the speaker. They are not conquerors. The speaker replied quietly.
No.
They are something else. Across the stars, human fleets held position.
Silent.
Waiting. The galaxy watched. And the Galactic Council began to understand. Humanity's brutal response was not chaos. It was controlled force. And it was not finished yet. The Varithi High Commander did not sleep. For 3 nights, he remained inside the command chamber beneath his capital city. Large holographic maps floated around him. Every system under Varithi control was marked in red. Red meant disabled. Red meant blocked. Red meant silent. Human fleets still guarded the main jump routes. Trade ships were trapped. Military factories had no power. Outer colonies were cut off from central command. The Dominion was not burning. It was suffocating.
Slowly. Carefully.
The High Commander finally spoke to his advisors. "If we fight," he said, "we lose everything." No one argued. "If we surrender," he continued, "we lose control." That was the real fear. Not death. Not destruction. Loss of dominance. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, tension had reached a breaking point. Delegates who once spoke with pride now whispered in private groups. Smaller species were no longer silent. They demanded open discussion about what had happened to Haven 12. One delegate from a minor border world stood and spoke loudly. "If the Dominion can destroy a colony without punishment, then none of us are safe." The Varithi ambassador tried to interrupt. But this time, the chamber did not give him attention. The Speaker of the Council raised a hand for silence. "For centuries, we have maintained balance," the Speaker said carefully. "But balance requires fairness." That word, fairness, had not been used often in council politics. Another delegate added, "Humanity asked for justice. We delayed. Now we face consequences." The chamber grew quiet again. Because deep down, many of them knew the truth. The council had protected power, not law. And humanity had exposed that weakness. On Earth, leaders watched the political shifts closely. They did not celebrate. They understood something important. Military victory was temporary. Political change was lasting. Ambassador Ward met with the president in a secure room. "The council is unstable," he said. "If it collapses completely, smaller species will suffer." The president nodded. "We do not want chaos," she replied. "We want correction." Ward allowed himself a small smile. That is what frightens them the most. Back in Varithi space, internal unrest began spreading. Outer colonies sent angry messages to the capital. "You promised protection. You promised strength." Now they saw human fleets controlling the stars while their own navy hid behind planetary shields. Some military officers began questioning the High Commander's decision to attack Haven 12. One officer finally said what others were thinking. "We believed humans were weak because they were peaceful." The High Commander closed his eyes slowly. "Yes," he said. "And we mistook patience for fear." Then came the moment that changed everything. A transmission from Earth reached every major system in the galaxy. It was not propaganda. It was not a threat. It was a proposal. Ambassador Ward appeared on screen once again. His voice was calm. "Humanity does not seek territory. We do not seek conquest. Our goal is simple." The screen shifted to show the faces of rescued civilians from Haven 12. Families reunited. Children safe. "Our people were taken," Ward continued. "We responded. Now we ask the galaxy a question." The screen changed again, this time showing council voting records from past centuries. Moments where powerful species avoided punishment. Times when smaller races were ignored. "Is this the system you wish to keep?" Silence followed. Then Ward spoke the final line. "We are prepared to stand down. But the council must change." The message ended. Across the galaxy, populations reacted strongly. Small worlds supported reform openly. Even some powerful species admitted that change was necessary. The council could no longer hide behind tradition. Inside the Varithi command chamber, the High Commander received a final update. Human fleets had repositioned again. Not closer, not attacking, but ready. Always ready. A secure channel opened. Ambassador Ward appeared one last time. "Have you decided?" Ward asked. The High Commander's voice was lower now. "If we surrender our leadership for trial," he asked slowly, "will you withdraw your fleets?" "Yes," Ward replied. "Once a lawful transition begins." The commander studied the human's face. No anger, no joy, just certainty. "You could destroy us," the commander said. "Yes," Ward answered honestly. "Why give us a choice?" Ward paused for a moment. "Because we are not you." The words carried no insult, only truth. The High Commander looked around the room at his advisors. Pride had brought them here. Pride had blinded them. Finally, he gave the order. "Transmit surrender terms to the Galactic Council." The announcement shook the galaxy. The Varithi Dominion, once untouchable, had agreed to submit its leadership for interstellar trial. Inside the council chamber, no one spoke for several seconds after hearing the news. The speaker finally broke the silence. "Humanity," he said quietly, "has forced a turning point." Some delegates looked relieved. Others looked afraid. Because they understood something new. Humanity had not only defeated a military power. They had changed the political structure of the galaxy. And they had done it without burning worlds. On Earth, when confirmation of surrender arrived, celebrations were again quiet. There was no cheering in the government halls. Only deep breaths of relief. The president gave a simple order. Begin phased fleet withdrawal. Human ships slowly moved away from Varithi core systems. Blockades lifted. Trade routes reopened. But one thing had changed forever. The galaxy had seen what humans could do. Not reckless destruction. Not uncontrolled rage. But focused, disciplined force. Inside the council chamber, an elder delegate leaned toward the speaker. "We thought they were young," he whispered. The speaker stared at the star burning outside the chamber windows. "They are young," he replied softly. "And that is what makes this even more remarkable. Because in just a few weeks, humanity had done what no one had done in 10,000 years. They had made the Galactic Council tremble. And the final chapter was still coming. The surrender of the Varithi leadership was broadcast across the galaxy. For the first time in their long history, Varithi High Command stood before the Galactic Council, not as rulers, but as defendants. The trial was held inside the great chamber built within the dying star. The same chamber where Haven 12 had first been dismissed as a pirate incident. Now, every seat was filled. Every system was watching. The Varithi High Commander stood in the center of the floor. His armor was removed. His posture was lower than before. Not broken, but changed. Ambassador Elias Ward stood across from him. Calm as always. The speaker addressed the chamber. "The charge is unlawful destruction of a civilian colony, forced labor of sentient beings, and violation of interstellar law." The evidence was presented. Footage from Haven 12. Orders signed by Varithi Command. Records from the labor camps. No one could deny it. When asked if he had anything to say, the High Commander spoke slowly. "We believed humanity would not respond." There was no excuse in his voice. Only admission. "We believed the Council would protect us." That statement caused a quiet reaction in the chamber. Because it was true. The Council had delayed. The Council had hesitated. And that hesitation had nearly allowed injustice to stand. After long debate, the judgment was announced. The Varithi High Command would be removed from power. A temporary civilian government would be established under Council supervision. Military expansion rights were suspended. The Dominion would pay reparations to the survivors of Haven 12. It was not revenge. It was accountability. When the trial ended, all eyes turned toward Ambassador Ward. The speaker addressed him directly. "Humanity has demonstrated strength," he said carefully. "What role do you now seek within this council?" The chamber waited. This was the moment many had feared. Would humans demand dominance? Special authority? Control? Ward's answer was simple. "We seek reform, not control." Murmurs spread. Ward continued. "No single species should hold unchecked power. Voting rights must be balanced. Investigations must be transparent. Smaller worlds must be protected equally. Some powerful delegates shifted uncomfortably. This would reduce their influence. But after recent events, refusing was dangerous. More importantly, refusing would prove humanity right. The speaker nodded slowly. A reform committee will be formed immediately. For the first time in centuries, real change began inside the council. Across the galaxy, reactions were strong. Small border systems felt hope. They had lived under quiet fear for generations. Now they saw proof that power could be challenged. Major empires felt caution. They understood something clearly now. Humanity did not want to rule, but they would act if necessary. That made them different and unpredictable. On Earth, fleets returned home one by one. Massive warships entered dry dock quietly. Factories reduced production. Emergency status was lifted. But military research did not stop. It simply became quieter again. Inside a private meeting room overlooking Earth's oceans, the president met with Ambassador Ward. "It is finished," she said softly. "For now," Ward replied. She studied him carefully. "Do you think they will forget?" Ward looked out at the horizon. "No," he said. "They will remember." He turned back toward her. "And that is enough." In Verithi space, change came slowly. Civilian leaders began rebuilding trust with outer colonies. Forced labor camps were dismantled. Prisoners from other species were released. It was not easy. Some Verithi citizens were angry. They blamed humanity. Others blamed their former leaders. But over time, a quiet understanding formed. If their commanders had not acted in arrogance, none of this would have happened. The Dominion had not been destroyed. It had been forced to face itself. Months later, the Galactic Council chamber felt different. The atmosphere was lighter. Debates were more balanced. Small species spoke without fear of being ignored. Transparency systems were installed for all major investigations. Power blocks still existed. Politics did not disappear. But the unquestioned dominance of a few races was gone. During one session, a young delegate from a minor system approached Ambassador Ward. "Why didn't you take control?" the delegate asked honestly. "You could have." Ward smiled slightly. "Control creates enemies," he replied. "Responsibility creates stability." The young delegate considered this carefully. It was a very human answer. Far from the council chamber, near the edge of known space, a group of alien observers studied reports about humanity. They were not council members. They were from regions beyond explored territory. They had watched quietly during the conflict. One observer spoke in a low voice. "They are not conquerors." Another responded,
"No.
"They are guardians." The first observer tilted its head. "That may be more dangerous." Because guardians act when others fail. And humanity had proven they would not hesitate. Back inside the council chamber, the speaker stood before the assembly one final time regarding the Haven 12 crisis. "Let this moment be remembered," he said. "Not as the beginning of war, but as the correction of imbalance." He paused, then added quietly, "And let us never again mistake patience for weakness." Many eyes turned toward the human delegation. They sat calmly. No prideful gestures. No victory symbols. Just quiet presence. That quiet presence carried more weight than any threat. On Earth, children in schools began learning about the Haven 12 incident. Not as a story of revenge, but as a lesson. Strength without control is chaos. Control without justice is corruption. But strength guided by justice, that creates change. In orbit above the planet, human fleets rested.
Silent.
Ready. Not seeking conflict, but prepared if it came again. Because the galaxy now understood something clearly. Humanity preferred peace. They valued cooperation. They respected law. But if pushed, if their people were threatened, if injustice was protected, they would respond. Not with blind anger, not with uncontrolled destruction, but with precise, unstoppable force. And that was why the Galactic Council had trembled. Not because humanity was brutal, but because humanity was disciplined. And in a galaxy ruled for 10,000 years by power alone, discipline was something entirely new. The stars remained quiet.
For now.
But the message had been written across the galaxy in clear, simple truth. Humanity was peaceful by choice, never by weakness.